Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing great. And finally, I got figured out the whole camera thing. So that's good. Hey, Beth,
Hi, hi.
did you get, I couldn't send it as an attachment. So on my AOL account, when I sent it through the Gmail account, it said it had to send it as a Google Drive attachment.
I have not received it yet. Let me double check.
Oh,
Maybe it just came through.
I'll
Yeah.
answer Cindy if you want me to.
oh, okay. Thank you.
hmm I just need to look back at the date. Hmm.
I can give you the date. Hold on.
Yeah, I've got it. I'm
You got it?
forwarding. Yep, I'm
Okay, good.
forwarding it to her so
Thanks.
she doesn't have to look.
Thank you.
You bet.
All right. So, Beth, I made you a co-host, so you should have the power to share your screen
Okay.
at this point.
Thank you.
Other than that, y'all, I don't usually host these things, so hopefully things go smoothly.
It'll be
I'm a
fine.
little concerned that we're gonna get some drop off because of the storm coming in. People might be hanging shutters or making plans to evacuate.
Hmm.
There's not much I can do about that.
No. So you never got that, huh?
No, I
Because
never.
you don't have a Dropbox account, you said, right?
No, I went to see if I could just do like a free thing, but they want me to put in my credit card, and I have one too many subscriptions going right now because I forgot to cancel the free trial. So
Oh, sure. Yeah, got it. Hmm.
And we are on the advanced audio setting. And let's see if we are sharing the screen.
I'm pausing it until we get going.
I think you got the presentation now, Aaron, but you might not need it. You might not have time to download that.
Right. My computer's being slow. I was trying to load some starting music, but it's not happening. So we'll just welcome people as they are coming in. So welcome people who are coming in. We will get going here in a minute. We're just waiting for some more folks to join us. And thank you for being here on a night when all the schedules are shifting. Okay, I want to wait just one more minute for folks to drop in. All right, thank you everyone for being here tonight. I know that it's hard when there's a tropical storm on the horizon, and I appreciate that you're here. We are going to record this session and try to post it on our YouTube channel. So if you think it's valuable, please tell your friends about it. We'll have it available hopefully in the next couple of days. And so I'm just going to start the presentation. I'm Erin Quinn. I'm the VP of Programs at Robinson High School, PTSA, and I would like to introduce at this time Kimberly and Jody McGuire, who are parents. They have been very involved in Robinson, including Kim being a past president of the PTSA.
You ready for us?
I'm ready for you.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'm Kimberly. This is my husband, Jody. Apologize that we're in our car, but we are at a Robinson High School swim meet. So go Knights. I wanted to, I've attended these before, obviously. We have two boys who went to Robinson. Our youngest is 16, and this really applies to him. I really want to say, It doesn't matter if you feel like your child is not at risk, if you are super involved in their lives, if you're super involved in their school, every single child, it doesn't matter what school they're in, what their community is, every single child will at some point be exposed to addictive substances, opioids, alcohol, nicotine, all of it, including our sons. And it doesn't matter the school. Robinson, even now, still one of the best schools. I'm so grateful that our boys have had the opportunity to go there. But there are kids on campus who had different types of drugs and alcohol on campus. And unfortunately, our younger son has, an addictive personality, and it only took trying things a few times and he became an addict. We had him in the emergency room right after Thanksgiving because he had gotten desperate enough to take our dead dog Xanax, and he overdosed on it. We had to take him to the hospital, which was terrifying. We'd gone through all different types of therapy, and we pulled him from school because it didn't matter that we cut off any access to alcohol or anything like that at home. He was just getting it at school again through his friends. And so what I really wanted to spotlight, and jump in if you want to, but really the warning signs, because our son was, he was a very good student. He had excellent grades. He's an athlete. He was a swimmer. He played baseball as a little boy, very involved in youth group. And then about a year and a half ago, we noticed that he was becoming withdrawn with us. He would hide in his room. His grades slipped. He had a terrible attitude. He would tell us he was going to do things and then not do them.
But it was also that age. I mean, a lot of times you see with the hormone changes and the age change and the school change and all that stuff, and it's very important to pick up on the red flags, even if you don't think that they're red flags. You look for those behavior changes. You look for different things. We just clocked it to, oh, well, he's a hormonal teenager. Well, yeah, he was, but it wasn't just that. Our hell started when we had him in the ER, and we got a real dose of the reality that we now face every day.
Yeah, they did a drug test in the ER, and we thought it was just Xanax, but we found out that he had opioids in his system as well. And so when we got home, we checked, and we've had surgeries and teeth pulled and have had all kinds of extra meds laying around the house and never thought about it. But he had taken everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. So
not just like taking it from the cabinet, but ingested it as well over time.
Right.
And it was, taking the bottles out of our bar that he didn't think that we would miss, like I don't drink gin. Well, my bottle of gin ended up, in his possession, and, that kind of stuff. And also keep in mind the social media element, because kids do that these days. They post everything on social media, and they talk on Snapchat, and they think that if the snap has gone away, then it's gone, and, that kind of thing. And you have no idea how much damning evidence that we found going through his phone and, working with his therapist and everything like that. It's absolutely astounding.
But we do want to say, because you're probably going to hear some really I know you're going to hear some heartbreaking things during this presentation, but the good news is that we were able to catch it. We were able to get him the help that he needed, and he was willing to accept the help. He is now, next week, he'll be clean 6 months.
Yep.
Off of everything. He is in treatment. He has a wonderful psychiatrist and therapist. He is slowly starting to get back into social activities, which was why we're at the swim meet, because he's helping the team. That's a huge deal for us. So this is very, very important. We've shared it a lot. Like I said, it doesn't matter how involved you are, how much you think your child is going to be asked to try these things.
And part of it also, you're looking at the process and everything like that. We got him in therapy as soon as he came out of the emergency room, and the therapy that we had him in wasn't working. So we went to the intensive outpatient program. That didn't work. And, we pulled him out of school when we found out that school was no longer a safe space for him. When it turned out that he was also drinking rubbing alcohol and vanilla extract because it had alcohol in it, and anything and everything that he could to get his fix, we learned that quickly that the house was no longer a safe space for him. He had to go into an inpatient facility that was 115 miles away from our house for a total of 50 days. And so, when I mentioned our hell, we were traveling every week over to the other side of Orlando, because that's where he was. Fantastic facility. They did great things with him. And, since then I had the conversation with him, and I said, what was it that made that take, because the other therapies had not taken. He didn't want to change. He didn't see a problem with it, whatever. And he said he didn't want to be gone from home. And so, that's really what it was. He was gone for 50 days, 7 weeks. And, the day that we dropped him off was one of the hardest that we've experienced, as a couple, as a human. But, the day we got him out, we started our new life. I mean, it really, it's a day by day, and this is our new reality. What else you got, Aaron?
All right. Thank you so much, Kim and Jody, for being willing to share your story and Evan's story. Knowing that it happens even when your parents are the most involved, I think is a real wake-up call for everyone. So thank you for being able to come on and share that. I do want to take this.
One more thing real quick. I think one of the biggest takeaways that we've learned as a family is it's okay not to be okay. Open up with the fact that everyone's got issues. Everyone's got their own demons that they're fighting, and talk about them, open up, work through them as a family, and be able to allow that, that vulnerability, because in the end, that vulnerability is what's going to make you stronger.
Right.
Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. At this point, I'm going to turn over the presentation to our amazing presenters from NOPE. Beth Butler is a longtime educator and advocate on these issues, and she's going to take it from here.
Thank you, Erin. And again, thank you, Kimberly and Jody, for sharing your emotional story. It's one that most of us involved with NOPE have lived the hell as well. And we just want to commend every single one of you who is tuning in tonight and watching it maybe later as a pre-recorded session, because you're being here tonight for your children, for your family. And as Erin mentioned, my name is Beth Butler. I'm a member of the Narcotics Overdose Prevention Education Task Force right here in Hillsborough County, better known as NOPE. And joining me this evening will be Cindy Grant, the Executive Director of Hillsborough County Anti-Drug Alliance, along with career educator and former Hillsborough County School District Administrator, Kathy Valdez. NOPE of Hillsborough has been delivering very high-impact presentations to middle and high school students for more than 10 years now. We talk about the life-altering consequences of vaping, smoking weed, and experimenting with substances in general. These presentations are done in an assembly format, and they are purposefully blunt, and they include the school resource officer from each campus, along with a moderator such as myself tonight, and one of our family speakers who has lived through the disease of addiction and then lost their child to a substance-related death. The NOPE presentations evoke powerful emotions, and throughout the student presentations, we emphasize 3 points throughout the 50 minutes. We talk to the students about how we want them to be the hero. We want them to break their code of silence and step up and get help for someone in their life, whether it's themselves or a friend or a family member who is struggling with substance abuse. We also talk to the students about how one time of experimenting with a vape device that's laced with something that the kid has no idea what the drug dealer put in it, or they pick up a joint and they smoke it and it's laced with fentanyl, that one time of experimenting can kill them. And the other thing that we talk to them about is how we want them to make the call to 911. And we emphasize the 911 Good Samaritan law that we will talk about later in this presentation after we've informed the students of the various signs of overdose, such as hallucination, high body temperature, heart rate racing, pupils not dilating properly. So please, we invite you to watch this video for just a few minutes, and it is one that we share with every high school campus in Hillsborough County during our presentation.
quiet so we don't wake his parents. God, he's dead weight. Our job now. Let's get out of here.
I think something's wrong with him. He's not even moving. You don't think we should wake up his parents or call 911 or something?
Don't worry about it. He'll be fine tomorrow, okay?
I don't think it's right.
What are you getting yourself into?
I really think we need to do something. What if he doesn't wake up?
Let's just go, okay? He'll be fine. I've seen this a million times. Look, I'll text him in the morning, make sure everything's okay. Now, let's go.
Wait,
We have to get out of here. Just leave him.
we can't just leave him.
Then do what? Call 911, go wake up his parents, and then explain to everybody how you got this way?
We tell the students, make the call and dial 911 because there is a law that is called the 911 Good Samaritan Law. And what it does is it protects you, the person making the phone call, and the person that you're calling for that you think is overdosing right in front of your eyes from getting into legal trouble of any kind. Now, believe me, we understand that the students will get into trouble at home, but as far as legally, that 911 Good Samaritan Law protects both people from getting into legal trouble of any kind, regardless of the substances present in their system or on the premises. This story of Brandon's son is shared during many student presentations across our county because this young man was a sophomore at Freedom High School, and he was celebrating getting out of his sophomore year with some buddies of his over at the Sunshine Skyway Rest Area. And during that afternoon, one June day, they decided to all experiment with substances. And according to Brandon's friends, Brandon got separated from the group and they couldn't find him. So they just drove home to their homes without their friend, even though they were very worried about him. They didn't text his brother. They didn't stop by the mom's house and let her know that their son had been missing for more than a full day. They didn't tell a person in uniform. And that young boy's body, Brandon's body, was snagged by a fishing line 33 hours after going missing. And I remember reading about this in the newspaper and hearing about it online and saying to myself, didn't his friends sit in a presentation like your students will be sitting in very soon and learn about that 911 Good Samaritan Law? It was a missed opportunity to let that young boy graduate from Freedom High School. I don't know if you're aware, but every day, more than 2,500 teenagers are trying prescription pills for the first time, simply for the sake of getting high. And every day in our nation, more than 290 people lose their lives to an overdose death. Now, vaping, the research is out. We have learned that it is a very addictive type of substance and usage problem, whether they're putting nicotine, THC, CBD oil in their vaping device, in their e-cigarette, it is addictive. And the problems of lifelong breathing issues, referred to as popcorn lung, is definitely another thing that is happening with teens that are vaping, as well as young adults and older people as well. Now, we tell the kids, we know if we start preaching about it, it's going to go in one ear and out the other. So let you listen in to a teen age video that was made by someone close to their age about his problems with vaping. And this video is played for your students, your children.
Make him smile with the words again. I'm born. People sound too foolish for the thrill of killing. If they're not just in a million things out loud.
My name is Daniel Lamette, and I'm 17. I was super healthy and a varsity athlete. This was my life. In September of 2019, I developed an illness from vaping. I spent 75 agonizing days in 3 different hospitals until I received the first double lung transplant in the world due to vaping. I was only 16 at the time, and most of the 75 days are completely missing from my memory. I had to relearn how to walk, I had to relearn how to breathe, I had to relearn how to eat, and I lost all of my muscle mass. I only weighed 99 pounds when I got out. I vaped because I thought it was fun. I liked the buzz, and everyone was doing it. I thought no harm could come of this healthy alternative to cigarettes. What I gained from this temporary feeling I got from vaping was an addiction and a lifelong impairment, along with mental trauma and 75 days of my life wasted away in the hospital bed. My mission now is to educate people about the dangers of substance abuse and inspire people like you to live happier, healthier lifestyles with my nonprofit Fight for Wellness. I would like you to ask yourself one thing after this message. Is it worth it? I hope to inspire you to focus on bettering your life firstly by listening to my message, and secondly, to think about your own health. Thank you.
You heard it correctly. Daniel had the first double lung transplant in the world due to vaping right here in this nation. So please don't think vaping is not a big deal. Cindy Grant, the Executive Director of Hillsborough County Anti-Drug Alliance, will now share with all of you some very important information surrounding vaping, underage drinking, and more. Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you. And I'm sure all of you have heard that vaping has reached a crisis level in our country, in our state, and in our community. The slide here shows a variety of vaping devices, many that resemble electronics or even school supplies. As parents, you need to understand how serious seeing a vape pen, an e-cigarette, or a Juul, or any type of vaping device is. You have a right to know what your child is up to, who they hang out with, and what's in their backpack or in their car. Most often, you're the one paying for the car and the insurance, so look through the car for one of these devices, look through their backpack. It is our responsibility to help guide our teens on the right path. Now let's talk about marijuana and the messages our teens are receiving about this substance. As they're watching marijuana go through legalization, either for medical purposes or for recreation, they're part of a generation exposed to a different take on this drug that is not federally legal in any state. Do you realize the pot of today is not the pot of yesterday or the 70s? The THC levels are many, many times higher, and drug dealers are oftentimes lacing it with fentanyl, which can kill a human instantly. Please don't think as parents, well, he's just smoking a little weed. This is serious and a dangerous time for your children to be buying, using, or selling drugs. The most recent studies also say that teens' brains are being altered by today's high-potency marijuana. Take a look at the 4 throwbacks that you might hear from others about pot. What is your stance going to be in your home during those crucial conversations? Next slide. Yep. Okay, when thinking about edibles, marijuana brownies usually spring to mind, but edibles actually come in many shapes and sizes. These include cookies, gummies, cakes, hard candy, chocolate bars, and more. Unlike smoking cannabis, where the substance enters the body through the lungs, edibles introduce the drug through the gastrointestinal tract. The result is a high that is more intense and lasts longer when you eat it rather than smoke it. It takes longer for the high to kick in when using edibles, so kids tend to keep eating and eating until they end up sick in the hospital or seriously ill. In fact, several Hillsborough County students have been hospitalized during school hours after being given edibles on campus from a so-called friend. This slide shows many trending drugs. A vital role you play right now is staying informed as a parent, staying involved in your teen's life and knowing when to step in. You should look through their room, through their dresser drawers, their shoes, and yes, kids do hide things in their shoes and other places too. Many teens are stealing prescription pills from their own family's medicine cabinet or from a relative's medicine cabinet or a friend's. Lock your drugs up, count your drugs, know what you have. Did you know that you can easily dispose of expired or not needed drugs any day at your local law enforcement agency and many local drugstores such as CVS and Walgreens? And every day can be a drug take-back day. In 2023, there were 583 total overdoses in Hillsborough County alone. That's an 8% reduction from the overdoses in 2022. And while it's true that the data from the first 6 months of 2024 looks like we're reducing numbers to pre-pandemic levels of overdoses in our county, there's still way too many and much work to be done to protect our children. This is Narcan, which is the delivery system for the drug called naloxone. The reason I mention this to you as parents is that every person should be educated about Narcan. We need to understand why and how to use it and the next steps after using it. In easy terms, Narcan reverses an opioid overdose. It allows the person most times to begin breathing again. We administer Narcan so that the person who overdosed can then go to the hospital and get treatment for their addiction. The availability of Narcan and use by first responders certainly is a major reason for the slight decrease in overdose numbers. It's important to mention again that you must call 911 first to get medical help on the way, and then you peel, place, and press the Narcan, as shown in this slide here. The person will oftentimes overdose again after the Narcan wears off, which is why it's crucial to call 911 first. You can get Narcan in nasal spray form from your local pharmacy without a prescription and possibly under $20 with insurance. You can find locations near you to get Narcan for free at the website iSaveFL or iSave Florida, or contact us and we'll be happy to provide it for you.
I just want to interject that Kimberly and Jody actually have some Narcan that they wanted to show to the audience, if you don't mind, Cindy.
Sure. Thank you, Kimberly and Jody.
Sure. This was given to us when our son was in the emergency room. It has 2 doses in it. Just like they showed, it's the nasal kind, and it comes in the box. And we keep it nearby. Luckily, we've never had to use it, but we have it.
That's good. I think everybody should have it on hand. I keep it here at my place too, in case it's ever needed. So let's talk about underage drinking for a few minutes and your child. Half of our children are starting to drink by the 8th grade. That's frightening, but what messages are we sending our kids about drinking alcohol? Are you setting a good example of everything in moderation? Our state of Florida has what's called social host liability law that will hold you, the party host, liable for any alcohol-related injuries that occur as a result of providing alcohol or other intoxicating substances to minors. Do not put yourself in the position to lose your home, your life savings, spend time in jail, or tarnish your reputation just to be the cool parent who lets her child have a party at home. I got into prevention work after my own son passed from an accidental overdose at 19 years of age. Dan was a very active young guy. He played baseball, hockey, tennis. He participated in martial arts, Boy Scouts. He was in the church youth group, and he was a great saxophone player. But Dan was also a risk taker and sensation seeker, even at a young age. Always the first at everything. He would whiz past us on family ski trips, was the first on the roller coaster, would ride his horse at full gallop. When he was 13, we moved from Hingham, Mass to Gainesville, Florida, and being the person he was, he made friends fast and became fully active again. Dan had the best sense of humor. Among his friends, he was known as the peacemaker. He got along with everyone, and he just wanted everybody to be friends. I did not have a clue as a parent that he and his friends got into drugs and would use ecstasy at local raves. As Kimberly and Jody pointed out, some of the signs and symptoms that are there, we sometimes mistakenly think it's, oh, they're just being teenagers. And that's how I thought. I thought, oh, they're just kids having fun. It went right over my head. It's important to know the signs and symptoms of drug use and take it seriously. The last time I saw Dan, I drove him to work. After work, he was going to the movies and staying at a friend's. He called me that night to tell me the movie was great and he was going to work from his friends in the morning. I didn't hear from him that night, nor the next day, but I didn't worry as he and his friends would stay at each other's homes regularly. At 10 o'clock at night, I got a call from the sheriff's office asking to bring Dan's parents to the hospital. I rode in the deputy's car and my husband followed. They could not tell me what was wrong, but the deputy called in to say we were on the way, and he was told blue lights and siren the whole way. Something in me just dropped. I knew this was really bad. I got to the hospital, and I was met at the door and ushered into his room. I held his hand, tried to talk to him, and I just knew he was already gone. They had him hooked up to machines, but we asked for determination of brain activity. The next morning, we got the result. Our minister came and we gathered around him, held hands, talked to him, and said goodbye. They turned the respirator off and Dan just went. The pain in that moment as a parent is the worst thing you can imagine. I later found out he and his friends had tried Oxy, and his friends tried 3 times to take him to the hospital and were stopped by the adults that were in the house. If they had called 911, if they had Narcan on hand, or they had gotten him to the hospital, maybe he would be alive today. Today, those friends still gather on the anniversary of his death at the Free Expression Wall in Gainesville and paint a tribute. All of his friends now are married with children of their own. 4 of them have named their firstborn after him. You know, in our culture, there's no name for it when you lose a child. A mom is just not supposed to outlive her son. It's been many years, but Dan is still the first thing on my mind in the morning and the last thing at night. I always wonder what might have been if he did not take those pills, if someone had called 911. Maybe he would have completed college, met a wonderful girl, got married, had children. But this is not to be, and I miss him so much.
Thank you, Cindy. Every time you share your story, it is so real and so recent seeming. So thank you for helping other families not have to live through that. I don't know if you're aware, those of you that are watching, tuning in, that when a child decides to use substances early in life, before the age of legally drinking at 21, or if they try pot or they try a prescription pill before the age of 21, that they are 45% more likely to suffer with the disease of addiction later in life because of their developing brain. In fact, we talked to the students during the presentations that this disease of addiction is a disease of the brain, and that your brain is not fully developed and your lungs are not fully developed until the age of 25. So every single thing your children are putting into their body, whether it's drinking, vaping, smoking, dabbing, every single thing is affecting the development of their brain and their lungs. And that is why we tell them the earlier you begin to experiment, the higher your chances are from suffering with this disease called addiction. But we can make a difference. We really can. Our community is showing this with the statistics that Cindy shared earlier. Overdose deaths are decreasing, but we need to continue the fight to help our kids get through these tough formative years. The challenges of growing up in this culture, you all know this as parents, as adults, it is not an easy one. And I want you to realize this, and Cindy has already said it, Kimberly and Jody said it, this disease holds no prejudice. It does not care if you speak Spanish, Arabic, French. It doesn't care if you live on a high-rise condominium in New York City or on a park bench as a homeless person in downtown Tampa. I'm going to introduce you now to lifelong educator, career educator, and former Hillsborough County Public School Administrator, Kathy Valdez, who is going to assist all of us with some insight into how to detect if your child might possibly be experimenting or using substances and how to address this challenge head on in your home this week. Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you, Beth. You're going to hear some things over and over again in this presentation. You started with Kimberly and Jody and the testimony that they gave, and you will see that these things occur and they are true because you will have seen it in their lives, in our lives, and in our testimony. You know, it's so important not to catch that not my kid attitude. And sometimes that's real easy to do. But we've told you and we've seen evidence that it can happen to anyone. And as Beth said, addiction knows no prejudice. So if you have to think, oh, do I snoop? Do I not snoop? We all want to give our kids privacy. Of course, that's true. But you do have to be aware of what's going on in your own home. And that includes their room. So at an early age, start going into their room and make that a common practice. And when you're there, look around. And if there's reason that you might be suspicious, don't hesitate to snoop. It is your right. It is your home. You know, most of us know someone that's struggling with substance abuse, or either we know of someone, a family friend, a neighbor that's struggling with substance abuse. This whole thing of substance use and overdose, as we've said, has reached a crisis level. And even though we've seen a small decrease here in Hillsborough County, don't let that fool you. It's still way too many, and it is still this growing epidemic. You know, there are some risk factors, risk factors that will make it more likely that your child might try drugs or become involved or even addicted to substances. And these are those risk factors. Early age, Beth talked about the earlier that a child starts with experimenting with substances, that is more likely that they will become deeply involved and possibly addicted later on in their life. We know that even though it's not particularly running in families, it does tend, it's not gene linked, but it does tend to run a little bit. If you have someone in your family that is addicted to a substance, it's more likely that you may become addicted as well. So that would be important to know. If your family has those others that suffer with addiction, point that out to your child and say, you know what? It's more likely that you may become addicted if you start experimenting. Also, psychological problems or mental health issues. We've learned recently that mental health issues are really tied to substance use. We know that anxiety and depression is often found in young people and teens. That's a real problem, and we need to address those root causes of the mental health issues. Maybe they had some early trauma in their life that predisposes them to some sort of a reaction now or experimentation now that could prove deadly. Also, we are who we hang with. So if they're hanging out with kids that do drugs and drink, and do other risky things, then they're more likely to do that as well. And then your attitude towards drugs and their friend group's attitude towards drugs and other substances, that has something to do with their use of it as well. Because if everybody else is doing it, well, then I think it's okay if I do it. But be aware that there are other factors that are called protective factors, things that we can do that will protect our kids from maybe going down that road of addiction. Those strong bonds, enjoying family time together, eating meals together, having conversations together, being the involved parent. Now, we heard from Kimberly that it's not enough just to be a super involved parent, but it does to some extent protect them. Students or your kids that enjoy your involvement will be less likely than maybe another child who has a parent that really shows no involvement in their life. Also, set out your expectations at a young age. Let your children know what your attitudes are, what the rules are in your house, what your expectations for them are, and what the consequences are. And then be consistent with implementing and following through on those consequences. Be sure that you walk the walk just like you talk the talk. You know, it was when I heard Jody saying this, I thought of this slide that we have for you, that there are some things that would tip you off that maybe my child is using substances, and that missing liquor or even watered down liquor. Maybe they pour out some and then fill up the rest of the bottle with water. Be attuned to that. We've said keep track of your alcohol and your prescription drugs and know what you have in your house and if those quantities are varying. Also, if you go through their backpack every now and again, or as you're doing their laundry, maybe through their pants, and you find a fake ID, well, then you know that's a tip-off. Something's going on there. If you have jewelry in the house or money or other items that are easily pawned, that's for quick money, and that's what they're using to buy drugs or to buy alcohol. Also, we talked about staying over at friends' houses. Be sure that you know whose house they're spending the night at, and that you know the parent, and that you're sure that that's exactly where they are, and that there's supervision in that home, and there aren't things that go on in that home that you would disapprove of, or that are different from the values and the rules that you have for your own home. And if there's a lot of overnight spending, then be a little suspicious. Also, maybe they have some changes in their eating or their sleeping habits. Any big change should be a tip-off. Even if it's not substance use, something's going on there. And as a parent, it's your responsibility, our responsibility, to really delve into that. If your child seems like they're just sleeping in a whole different way, they're having trouble falling asleep, or they're having trouble now getting up, and that's a new thing for them. If they're nodding off, you're talking to them and they're just nodding off, falling asleep, or other inappropriate times of falling asleep, or significant weight loss, or significant weight gain. Any of those big changes would be a big tip-off that maybe there's something going on, and it could very well be substance use. Other kinds of things all of us need to really look at our children, know what they look like. I mean, really look in their eyes, look at them, know about what's going on with them as you're talking with them, and have frequent conversations with them. Maybe a tip-off might be if they're no longer practicing the good hygiene that they once did. They don't really care about what they're wearing. They're just looking kind of slovenly. They don't want their hair cut. They don't want even, and then some of these things, of course, it's normal behavior. But if it's a change, take a look. Also, if their face is flushed, or if they have puffy eyes, or underneath their eyes, dark circles, or if their pupils, with opiate use, the pupils get real tiny. they constrict to like a 10 point. And with other drugs, the pupils may get very large. So anything that you notice like that could very well be something that would give you a tip off that you need to investigate further. Also, there might be some behavioral changes. But before we get to that, take a look at these clothing. This is interesting. We talked about hiding drugs in shoes. Do you know that there are shoes that can be purchased where right where the tongue is, there's a little zipper. So it's a great little compartment for putting weed in or some pills in and hiding that. Or maybe in a cap, in the band of a cap, there's a little zipper. So different contraband can be hidden in that cap. Or t-shirts, paraphernalia, t-shirts that maybe have drug paraphernalia on it or some kind of drug slogan, or is this one 420? 420 is another name, a slang word for weed. And as you know, April the 20th is a date that is celebrated all over our country by those that are celebrating the use of weed, 420. So just be aware. Okay, so also our behavioral changes. We talked about if there's any big change in habits, if there's any big change in their appearance or their other hygiene habits, but if there's a change in their personality or their other behaviors, that could be a tip off as well and a sign that something needs to be examined further. The mood changes, the lying or the blaming or not taking responsibility. It's somebody else's fault. Withdrawing, and Kimberly mentioned this with their son, that he became isolated, withdrawn from the family. Some of that is normal for teenagers. They want to move away and have a little bit of independence. But if it's a big departure, that wanting to be isolated is because they know that you're not going to approve or that you may find out what they're up to. Also, be sure to check in at school, because falling or failing grades, or all of a sudden they were making A's and they're on the honor roll and now they're not, or other kind of things that happen at school, behavior changes at school that teachers could make you aware of. So be sure that you're an involved parent at school and go to those parent conferences, talk with the teachers. Most teachers now have a way to communicate with them in between times too. So be alert and be that parent that wants to know, even if it's bad news. Don't make them afraid to tell you. Be open to whatever, and then be supportive of what you need to do. Also, if there is a new friend group, especially one that you may know or you may hear is one that uses substances, that would be something that you would want to investigate and have a very serious conversation with your child about. Also, if there's secrecy about their possessions, because they may be hiding something, or they don't want you to see something like a pipe or some other device that they use, or a vape pen. Be alert to that. Also, if they were all very interested in sports and extracurricular activities at school, and now they don't want to do anything at school, they just want to hang out with this new friend group or just stay in their room all the time, then that's a tip off to have a conversation and start really paying attention to what's going on. The other thing we did mention briefly about the social media with Snapchat, Facebook to a lesser extent now than Instagram and Snapchat, but you know that you can get many illegal substances from China, even herbals that are addictive, things that come right through the mail and right to your house. So be alert to anything that comes to your house in a package that's from China, or take a look at your child's phone and look at those messages and kind of pay attention to what's going on in the conversation that's going on between friends. And does it include a lot of drug talk? It's very important to be attuned and know what your child is up to. do you feel that maybe some of these bullets hit home? Well, you know, again, we have to talk to our children and listen to them, not just talk to them, but listen to them. So important. Really know them. And even at times when we really don't want to be calm, we want to just kind of, you know, don't you understand? We have to be calm because as soon as we get up here, then they tune us out. So be calm, listen to them, whatever they say, even when we don't like hearing about it. Because those conversations, children that are in homes where parents openly talk about issues such as substance use and let their expectations be known, and the fact that they are supportive, though, and they are listening to them, those children have a much less likelihood of becoming addicted to substances in their lifetime. You know, they're all great kids, but it can happen to anybody. And it did. It happened to us as well. I was an educator. I thought I should know. But you know what? I was an educator that needed educating. And it was too late when I found out. Our son Michael was our only child. We waited so very long for him, and he was just the apple of our eye. And he loved school. He always loved school, was always such a happy kid, always did very well in school, was a good student. We were involved parents. He enjoyed playing football, really loved playing at the sports at school and just hanging out with his friends at school. And he did get a back injury, though, weightlifting during high school, and that kind of sidelined him a little bit in his sports, but he continued going there and supporting the team and supporting his friends. But after he graduated, and he graduated with a Bright Future scholarship, and we thought, oh, he had a really bright future. Went on to USF, and he was at USF, and after a while, he dropped out of there. And that Bright Future scholarship was no more. And he kind of floundered for a bit, and he went to HCC, and he moved out of our house. And I knew that he was acting differently, but I didn't really know the extent and the depths of it. And I only wish that I knew then what I know now, because our son took himself to one of those pill mill doctors that was operating during that time. And in a 2-year period, this one doctor prescribed thousands of pills for him: oxycodone, Xanax, methadone. And he took those pills, he abused those pills. And in the end, it was the combination of those pills that killed our lovely child. And I will never forget the body bag that got zipped around my child as he got taken out on a stretcher. And it is really a vivid memory that I will never forget. And to this day, this is where I have to go, to Garden of Memory Cemetery, if I want to see or even have that type of memory of our child. So it is with great passion that all of us share our stories so that you don't have to go through what we went through.
Kathy, thank you so much. You are always so full of strength and grace when you share your story of Michael and the love you all have for him to this day. You know, all of us, we were our children's first teachers, right? And we still are their teachers, their first teachers. It's just that they look at us differently now and they roll their eyes and they act differently towards us, but we still can be a very strong influence in their life, as Kathy and Cindy have mentioned. You just need to get involved. And if you are already involved, stay involved and keep those lines of communication going. Walk the walk, though. Don't be that parent that downs 3 martinis every night and you think that's not sending a bad message. It truly is. And also be the wall. Kids want parameters. They want boundaries. Even as a teenager, they may roll their eyes and stomp their feet and just shout about it, but they need the boundaries and they want the boundaries. They want the praise and the reward. Family meals, like Kathy talked about, are so, so important. If you have to have a conversation with your child because you really feel like this information tonight has hit home and you want to confront some concerns that you have, make sure that you choose a time when tensions are low in the house. And don't do it, please, if you even suspect that your child might be a tiny bit high on marijuana or a little bit under the influence of alcohol. Wait until all things are a level playing field, because we know that mental health issues are now openly discussed in our society. It is okay, like Jody was saying, to not be okay and to talk about it and ask for the help that you need to get through these mental health challenges. Explain to your child why you are opposed to drug use and substance use to help them get through what might be a challenging time, whether it's a tough test or whether it's social media that seems to be bombarding them. Be understanding with them, but be firm. Let them know that this is not the way to deal with life's challenges. By smoking a joint, drinking a drink, popping a pill that a friend gave them that said was just a little Xanax. Please make sure that you're not giving them idle threats, though. Please give them consequences that you know you and your partner will follow through on, and keep that wall built so that they know the boundaries are there and they will stay there. We know everything isn't going to go perfect. All of us has lived with someone who suffers with the disease of addiction or who suffered with it. And sometimes you need to get a professional involved. And on our website, nopillsboro.org, on Cindy's website of HCADA, Hillsborough County Anti-Drug Alliance, there are multiple resources that are available. Some are free. Some are offered on a sliding scale. So please don't think you have to deal with this alone. This is a situation, an epidemic in our nation, our state, our counties, and our cities. And we are here to help. And also know that the Crisis Center is just a dial away of 211 for any crisis. And as you're here tonight watching, or you're watching it later, please look at the QR code on this slide and please scan it, because we need your input as a community. Cindy and her organization are gathering crucial data from parents right now in our area to see how more we can better equip you and your family to help prevent and intervene with this epidemic of addiction and overdose death in our community. So make sure you QR code that tonight. Scan it right now if you could. And if you need to, go back to the replay and see if you can give us some information. We're going to be sharing our student presentation with the Robinson students, the seniors, on Thursday, October 17th. The date was rescheduled. It was supposed to be this Thursday, but because of the pending hurricane, we will be now rescheduled to Thursday, October 17th. So make sure that the conversation starts tonight or tomorrow in your home, but also let your seniors keep the conversation going after our presentation. We're going to open up the floor for any questions, but please note our email address for contact, also our phone number, and note that we do have a vigil coming up this October, October 24th, a week after the presentation with your seniors. And it is a vigil that is one of the most rewarding moments you will experience in our community. So look on our website for October 24th, the Nope of Hillsborough Annual Candlelight Vigil. Any questions? We'll open this up and let Erin help to navigate and moderate the question section.
I just also wanted to let you all know I am stopping the recording now so that your questions are not going to be recorded.